Well, oh, thank you.
What's the Wi-Fi?
Wi-Fi is on the bulletin board, or the marker board rather. I think it's also maybe on the little tent on the under the screen.
So it's imbalanced. I think they were limited. Here, you can have mine.
They are limited. We weren't sure, but we might even pull it up on the screen. We can make
That'd be
copies too if people want a paper copy. It's a pretty light agenda today, and there's not a lot of detail to follow on with. Might have a robust conversation, but there's not a lot on like a spreadsheet.
It
or
doesn't
graph.
take much to get this going.
There's no like, we usually meet on the computer, so this is a unique opportunity to see each other face to face. Thank you all for coming and being together. And the snacks were just a way to get play,
Yeah.
which
And
was
the coffee-
Ashley's idea, and it
And the
worked.
coffee machine.
Oh, we didn't even tell people about that. That's a surprise. If anybody
We figured
needs,
it out.
if anybody needs water, it's just back this way to the left.
There it is.
There's also an espresso machine, and the bathrooms are up in the front to the right.
It's on my AQ.
There's a code, but the code is stuck to the door. Thank you.
I put the agenda up on the thing.
Thank you.
Oh, there's Jack.
Cheese down there and things.
And you can see it.
Well, I guess we'll get rolling. Everybody, welcome to the September meeting of the Blue Horizons Project Community Council. My name is Michelle Myers. I'm the chair. And I just want to welcome everybody. We'll do a round of introductions. We have some guests today. I do want to acknowledge that we are on occupied land of the Cherokee people. I'm working on my land acknowledgement because I also want to acknowledge that it's not enough just to say that. And I want to think about what the right way is to not just acknowledge it, but to work towards equity and justice. So let's try to aim for that. Do you want to go around the circle here and then do folks on the virtual meeting?
Sounds good.
Okay,
I think that means Jamie's going first.
okay. Maybe just name what your title is.
I'm Jamie. I'm the director at Greenbelt Alliance, and I'm doing some facilitation. So if I seem distracted, it's because I couldn't even get it to work. So we got two computers going on.
It's all good.
You're doing great. This is fantastic. Thank you.
Exciting.
I'm Keith Bamberger, Community Council. In my day job, I work with the Division of Air Quality.
I'm Ashley Featherstone, also on the council, and work for the Asheville Buncombe Air Quality Agency.
I'm Clary Frankham, also on the council, and I work with Sugar Hollow Solar COO. Hey, I'm Sophie Molinax. I work with Solar Crowdsource on School Electric.
And I'm Brad Rouse, on the council, and I generally climate advocate, but my current day job is Energy Savers Network.
I'm Jennifer Bennett. I'm on the council, and I'm with Duke Energy.
I'm Michelle Myers again, and I work for the North Carolina Clean Energy Fund, which is a relatively new green bank.
I'm Ed Magger, and I'm co-chair of the Community Engagement Subcommittee, along with my partner.
Jim Tolbert. I'm Jim Tolbert, and I have no other title. I am fortunate enough to call myself a retired person who put the job on the back burner to do this kind of work. And with that, I think we're to the introductions from the digital connections.
Loopy, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Lupe Morgan Blake, and I am, I guess I'm just on one of the committees.
Thank you. Nice to meet you, Loopy. Roberta, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Roberta Todd, and I'm just on a committee, thanks to Jamie.
Nice. Thanks you guys for being here. And then Jackie, are you on the phone too?
Yeah, sorry to be missing brownies and sweet treats with you guys. But I'm Jackie. I'm not an official council member, but I'm with Buncombe County.
All right, so everybody, thanks for being here. Will someone serve as a timekeeper today? We do have a short agenda, but it's always good practice.
I'll do it.
Thanks, Jennifer. First order of business is just to approve the August minutes. Did we meet in August? Did we take a break? We did meet in August. We didn't meet in July. That's right.
Do you need someone have to like?
Make a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the August minutes.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? Any amendments? I don't know if that's the right order. Maybe amendments then opposed.
Close enough.
Okay, great. All right, that passes. Thank you so much. All right. So last time we were together, we mentioned that the process for nominating and electing new members is upon us. And we had some ideas about some folks that we might be interested in asking if they are interested in being on the committee, but we need to take inventory of who's ready to roll off. So if you flip the paper over, if you're here, if Jamie, if you could scroll down on the screen, or if you're following along at home, second page of the agenda, or the attachment I sent out. So this is just 2 columns of a spreadsheet that actually had a couple more columns. So there's some notes. Some of the things might be a little confusing, like my term was up in December, but I'm serving as an additional year as chair, which was something we decided on when we moved the chair role to a 2-year position. But actually, we don't have too many folks rolling off this year. But we do have a vacancy. So I am rolling off. If I want to continue on, I'll apply, and I would love it if it's a competitive process. And then, but we do have vacancies. There's an opportunity to fill two seats. If anyone is thinking about vacating their seat early, it would be a good time to do that. So we can also include that into the recruitment process. So, hi.
Hey.
Hi, human. There's a seat for you right at the head of the table, Kara. Thank you for coming. Just being on that. Sorry. So there's a couple folks, usually the people who end up vacating early are people who haven't been able to make meetings. So probably not, maybe not people in this room, but if anybody wanted to share if they were planning on rolling off, that's okay. But we will follow up with folks who haven't been here in a little bit, see how they're feeling, what they're up to. There's only a couple people that aren't here today. So, but let's count it as at least 2. Would anybody be willing to serve on a committee that would be running? The way it works is that we hold an open recruitment process. We really want to make sure that it's well publicized. We want to make sure that we are pulling from all of our networks, but also from maybe outside of our networks to make sure we're hitting it and everyone knows about the opportunity. So we're really pulling from the most diverse pool possible of potential applicants. And then we have to set a deadline for when people must apply by. And it's a good idea to have it publicly noticed for at least a month. So that takes a little bit of coordinating. You need to we have a job description from previous years, get that posted, think about where you want it to be posted, maybe reach out to local media outlets, see if they would be willing to put it at least on a community board, if not actually run it in some way. And then, we need a portal for receiving the applications. Maybe, Jamie, are you pulling up the website that we used previously?
Yeah, I updated it for this year, but it's exactly the same thing, so.
Does it have dates on it?
You don't wanna change it. See, I'm looking for.
So then we would accept applications, you would review the applications for general, applicability to the committee. And then anybody who you wanted to interview, you'd interview, and then you make a recommendation to the council. And then the council votes is the final process. So it would be, I think traditionally that council vote has happened in September. We could do it in November if we can get this in order in time, but at least we should have notification to the potential new members in December because they're being seated in January. Does that track? Maybe I should have written this in the agenda. But I think at minimum, we need to set, what our benchmarks are going to be. So like, how long do we think it'll take to get all that together? And then when will our deadline for applications be? A couple weeks to do interviews and time to have, a notification at least a week in advance of the meeting of who the members are, and then a vote on the new members in December. So planning backwards from December and counting Thanksgiving, I would think we would want to have applications in hand by the start of November. Should we say November 1? Okay.
I'll just say whoever volunteers for the subcommittee that there's email templates that exist. There's a list of people we reached out to last time. So you're not starting from scratch.
November 1, we said, I'm updating it online too.
Yeah, I think so. Discussion.
November 1 deadline.
November 1 application deadline that gives all of November to interview.
Hmm.
And that gives us, if we want to have at least a month of public notification before the deadline, maybe a little more.
Yeah.
That gives us September to get all of our materials together. October 1st.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Worst case scenario, you put it off. No, I'm just saying,
That's the worst case.
if we decided we
might
needed,
have
if we decided we needed another week, we can always bump it later. I just think
Yeah.
an aggressive schedule is good.
Okay, I see what you said. Does anybody want to serve on? We do need people to be involved in the interviews. Like I said, there's only 2 seats open, so I imagine it won't be 100 interviews. I think last time we had 5 seats open. And it was quite a few. It was a handful of interviews, but
Well, it's at least one.
Yeah.
One seat that's open, but there might be more depending on people.
There's at least
From
2, I
today.
think she said. There's 2 open right now.
there's 2.
Oh, because Rocky.
Yeah, Rocky's vacancy, and then my term is up.
Okay.
This won't be an issue for long, but can we add a here that says the vacant position, just as a visual? Those of us who aren't familiar with the number, you know what I mean,
Yeah,
to indicate there's an item space.
we could do that for sure. Certainly.
Okay, I'll add that.
When would the interviews be in October? When would that happen?
They could be rolling interviews. It's really up to the people serving, or they could all be in November, because you have a full month to then make a
Oh, so the
recommendation.
interviews are after.
Almost a full month,
I
because
see.
you should have the recommendation and enough time to notice for the meeting, which would then be the first week of December. So, and the last week of November is Thanksgiving. So technically you would have 3 weeks to conduct interviews in November. But I think when Jamie and I did it the first year we were working together, we did rolling interviews, but we had a couple people who Jamie had recruited, Micah and Rocky, who were already interested, and we started those interviews because they had already basically applied. And actually Micah was seated in 2020. It's on here. It's not on here because we deleted that column. So there's an interesting thing when people are seated.
2022.
2022. Yes, it is on here. Great. So when people are seated at the end of, if they're filling a vacancy, they get a full 3-year term after they're seated. So Micah was seated in 2022, but she can serve until the end of 2025. She doesn't have to leave in September or anything like that.
So last time you and Jamie did all of this?
Last time, Jackie, Jamie, and Ben actually did this.
Good job, Jackie.
But Jackie's not on the council, right?
She's a
So it's
giver.
just volunteer. Just
Yeah.
volunteer.
Yeah, it was a big.
So is it
it
open
was a
to
big
not
help.
just members, but volunteers also? Helping us.
I think everybody's volunteer.
Yeah.
Everybody's.
Wait, you get
volunteer,
paid?
yeah. I said members, but I get the glories of membership. I'd love to help out, but this period of time is just slammed for me.
Mm. Yeah.
I don't mind doing it again. But there probably should be a council member with me, since basically all I do is all I can do is offer recommendations to the full council. Like I don't vote or anything. So, but I'm happy to do it with someone.
Thanks, Jackie. And I'll offer guidance, but if I'm like, just so people can know how to, like, they're like, how did this work previously? I'm happy to help, but if I'm potentially reapplying, then I obviously can't be part of the process.
I mean, I can help on the, in the selection. I just can't take a leadership role in this. But I could help out.
I'm kind of where you are, Brad. I'm happy to help out, but I got a lot going on and like 3 times between now and first of the year that I'm gonna be kind of incommunicado for a while.
I've got a few that I'm gonna be incommunicado, which is part of the problem, and then the otherwise I'm tied up in this interview sectors situation.
So, I'm happy to help when I can.
I think at minimum, we need people to conduct the interviews. I think it is nice to have consistency in the interviews as much as possible too, so that it's, when people are saying this person was strong or this person's strong, they're actually
Gotcha.
able to compare the 2 candidates versus someone,
We've
may
all
not.
kind of need to reach out to our networks and just publicize it, and then
That's for sure.
see what kind of response we get.
And probably someone spearheading it would be, here's a sample email you can send out, right? Just like public works.
Yeah, exactly. Like, so Jackie was really involved last time. I think when she said there's all this stuff already exists from previous, that might be a really good role. But Jackie can play as like, here's the
Mhm.
templates from last time. That's around.
I have the folder up. I can send it to all the members if you want to see. Stuff. See the person.
Could you link that in the agenda or put it in the meeting minutes, actually, so people can find it?
I'll put it on the agenda. I have it open now.
So
Minutes, agenda, whatever.
just out of just a guess, how many interviews are we talking about? 2, 14? What?
Last year it was
What do you-
4.
I mean,
Okay.
if we had like 15 candidates, we can narrow it down just based on paper.
I'm just thinking about, you said it would be nice if like the same person could do all of the interviews. So just wondering how many that would be.
Yeah.
I can't imagine we'd have more than 5 interviews for 2 seats.
Sounds right to me. Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what to say. I don't mind helping, but in November, I've just got a lot going on, so I don't know that I could do, depending on when they're scheduled, that I could do all 5. So,
That's good to know. That's good to know, because if you're not able to sit through the interviews, we probably need another person to do that.
Well, if Jack's
it
gonna
doesn't
do it.
hurt my feelings.
Okay.
What'd you say?
If Jack's gonna do it, I'm probably also doing it. So we just need a third, I think, right?
Yep.
Well, I could probably do the interviews, but I don't really have the time coming up to.
You are an excellent spokesperson for this committee, and I'm really happy you stepped up. So, okay, I think that's great.
Yeah, Keith, if you show up, I'll help coordinate scheduling the interviews and stuff.
Yeah.
So it sounds like me, Jamie, and Keith.
And Brad and Ed are happy to help in the.
I can
front.
jump in as needed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Committee, great.
Yay.
Thank you so much, everyone, for volunteer time.
Do we get a hat?
Yes,
Nice.
I will bring hats.
So I'd like to second the thank you to all of them. I do think all of us, like, I love the idea of an email blast, but I think a more important step that each of us can take is think through the people we know and actually invite a few people, like with a phone call or something more personal than
Yep.
just a bulk email. To think of some people to invite and let them bounce off of you. What does that mean? What does it look like? What do you do there? Why is it important? To have that conversation.
Definitely. I want to come back to recruitment strategies a bit, because I think that's an important point. I wanted to acknowledge, hey, Parker.
Hey, sorry team, I was on the wrong Zoom.
Oh, no.
Done that before.
Apologies.
Welcome, Commissioner Sloan, and then also Kara from the city joined us as well.
And Jackie. Oh. you're
Jeff.
two people.
I'm just
Gotcha.
introducing the new folks in the room. That's all.
Gotcha.
All right, so an email blast and our personal networks are great. I wondered, people in our networks, I don't know, tend maybe to be, like, I have a lot of people on my LinkedIn who I've worked with, right? So that means they kind of fill a similar, like, clean energy enthusiast NGO profile. Which is good, because I don't know that we have an NGO. Oh, your Sierra Club is here, but, and I'm happy to share it on my LinkedIn. But I also want to make sure we're recruiting, in sectors where we don't already have representation. So we talked a little bit about Land of Sky, Mountain BizWorks, and maybe even the chamber, though the chamber might be a longer relationship we're developing.
For commercial.
To have a commercial representation. And I also know that folks from the Equity Task Force are on the line, and I wonder if we're recruiting for new board members, is there a role that the Equity Task Force might even be involved in that process? Just started out there as an idea, not to put you guys on the spot, but open to suggestions too. if
It
it's-
would be great to have somebody from the Equity Task Force on the board, on the council. I mean, that's kind of maybe nominated by the Equity Task Force to serve on the council, but obviously it's work to serve on the council, so it's time.
I can send it out to them. Not, because I appreciate like Roberta and Lupe joining us. There's also 6 or 7 others on the task force, so I could also invite them to see who could be part of it or help us with the search.
I wonder what, Lupe and Roberta, does that sound like a reasonable thing?
Yes.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay. All right, well, that's for sure. And then, if the Equity Task Force has any other suggestions, so they're like, well, our members have read this, that's great, but we think you should send it to this newspaper or have a couple listservs that you would be recommend or even know are on and want to forward it out to. We would love help in recruitment in any way. Hey, Seth. Welcome, full house. Okay, we have some chairs.
I mean, a good audience would be key volunteers for energy sectors, people who are making a commitment to volunteer in the community already on this effort.
Mm-hmm.
Be good start. And I'll put it on the radio.
That'd be
Put it on the radio.
Yeah, all I have to do is say it's open season, folks. I don't know if anybody's listening. They are.
They'll find out.
No, I won't find out if anybody's listening. I'll find out if they,
What'd
You
you
don't
say?
get metrics on
not on a show by show basis,
that? Okay.
overall for the station.
I hate to be the timekeeper.
Oh, Jennifer, thank you. That is your job. I appreciate it. Okay. Put it on the radio, make sure it's the Equity Task Force, ask the Equity Task Force to anywhere to share it. What was the other idea that I just heard that I missed, that I forgot?
Chamber, Land Sky.
Chamberlain, okay. Personal networks. Okay. That all sounds pretty good to me. And then community boards, like, I know Mountain Express has like a community announcement section. Are there other ideas? Send them to the committee members, and thanks for those who are serving.
Or it, Sierra Club, I guess.
Oh, so what we were just discussing was the nominations and committee process. And I didn't mean to usurp your,
I wasn't here.
you weren't here. People did step forward. Are you also willing to sit in on?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool, great. So that is a very great committee. So Ed and Brad will support us, Ken, Jackie, and Keith and Jamie will be in the interviews with you. That is great.
And then how many spots we're filling?
We have 2 vacancies to fill potentially, unless anybody else steps forward and says, fill my seat, please. So my term is up, and then we have a vacancy right now.
Got it.
Yep, and it's,
Term like really up?
I can apply for a second term, but I've already had a year extra to my original 3-year term, and started a little bit before my 3-year term started, because I started in September. So I've been on for 4.5 years. So just taking it, as it is. Okay. Jamie. Would you like to talk about GBA updates and the BHP budget?
I would love to. So, hello, everybody. I've got some interesting news. Greenbelt Alliance is reorganizing or considering reorganization at our meeting on Monday. The board is meeting together to sort it out. The contract that the city and the county have with Greenbelt Alliance to manage this part of what's going on, but also like, let's go electric pipelining and some stuff with Energy Savers Network is part of Greenbelt Alliance, but depending on how things split, we'll see what happens or where things go. It's kind of all up in the air right now. It's a little early. But I wanted to kind of open it up and let you all know there are rumors swirling, things are changing and happening. And if there are questions I can answer, or Clary and Seth are also on the board of directors for Greenbelt Alliance, maybe we could field if that's something y'all are interested in. And Brad asked over email, like maybe we can go through some of the contract stuff from the city and the county if there are questions on that front. I get everything? Trying to thread the needle there.
It's broad enough that I think it covers it.
All right.
And they're meeting September, they're meeting like
Monday.
Monday.
And Wednesday.
So Jamie, maybe you could speak a little bit to like the actual implications for BHPCC or any other impacts that this council might experience. But, and maybe it's too early based on not knowing what the changes could be, but sounds like there's some knowns along with unknowns, maybe.
So we don't know how things are gonna split. Also, feel free to jump in here if I'm messing it up. We don't know how it's all gonna split, but the contract right now with the city and the county to do this work is with Greenbelt Alliance. If another piece of it splits off, does this contract go with that group or not? Like, how does it all fit together? So does it stay with Greenbelt Alliance or does it go with wherever these programs end up? Like, I don't think that's been determined yet. But it will be on Monday and I'll have more answers. I can email everybody too.
I mean, I don't think we need to totally dance around the bush. I mean, Danny, I mean, the key split is between Greenbelt Alliance and Energy Savers Network. That Energy Savers Network needs to find a new home. And so the question for Greenbelt Alliance is, what is the, what happens to, where does the GBA, I mean, the BHPCC and related contracts with the city and county go if Greenbelt Alliance and Energy Savers Network split up? Well, where does it logically go, or can you actually split that baby? And I think probably not, that you can't. And so, I mean, I've got my projection about where things are gonna go. But it would be premature because I don't know where it's gonna go. There is so everybody knows, there is a pre-existing contract that when ESN became part of GBA, that GBA, ESN did not actually become part of GBA. If you look actually on the GBA website, Energy Savers Network is a program of Greenbelt Alliance. And that program is provided under license from Energy Savers Network Incorporated. And Energy Savers Network Incorporated is a separate corporation, which has been active for 4.5 years. I've recently reconstituted the board in anticipation of becoming an operating entity again. There are a lot of hurdles, including what are the city and county and what is Duke going to say about all of this? But that's, you know, I guess you would call Energy Savers Network Inc. is a stakeholder in the whole process. And so that, you know, that's as are Duke and the county and GBA and all of that. I mean, and you guys are on the board, so you know more about what the internal deliberations of the board are than I do. But it's rather got me involved at this point in time. Because I don't want to see Energy Savers Network go away or find a home that just basically subsumes it into, and I don't, you know, I mean, I think that the things that Energy Savers Network has been able to achieve in terms of engaging the county and the city and the community, over 1,000 homes, the volunteers, and, you know, had the great fortune of getting to be qualified with the Duke contract and Duke providing the support that it does. That's a benefit to the community that we want to continue. So how do we make all that happen is very much on my mind right now.
Yeah, I think I'll just say there's Greenbelt Alliance, then there's a number of programs. And so there are questions on the table of like, what is the right home for the different programs? And so it's just kind of revisioning, going back to Greenbelt Alliance mission, revisioning what really lives within there. And then if there are some decisions around things not living in there, then how do we set them up for success? So I'd imagine there's potential there's potential like staffing support changes for BHPCC. There's potential,
And I imagine there'll be a runway while things are in transition. So eventually there will be a stop date, but there'll be like some back and forth for a while. Figuring out where staff goes, where the efforts are.
but even as a like a BHPCC community council member, I've always been unclear what exactly is Greenbelt Alliance and that, right? Like when it's through Blue Horizons project, other than Jamie and other staff people that sit in. So that's the one thing that comes to mind for me in terms of what support will feel like, or what will really feel different here. That was just me as a council member, missing plenty.
No, I think it's a really valid point, and I think the relationship to ESN has been even more confusing, because it's like, okay, ESN, we like to think of it as a part of the BHPCC that's offering services in a particular, sector of our community that might not be, ripe for purchasing big solar installations, or, on their own financing a huge new HVAC upgrade or something like that. So we talk about it as if it's part of our programming in that way, but we've never really had any authority over it, or even really, I don't think it's ever been clear, certainly haven't had any administrative responsibility over it either. So I just say that in transition, you might think about more clearly defining like what this committee exists for and what is the nexus for that. And I'm happy to hear you talk about a runway. I imagine that giving the city and the county ample notice so that they can also think about like, if these are contracts they need to put out to bid in 2025, 26, you guys would actually be the ones that would be tasked with finding a new home for BHPCC, right? It's not really anything we can control. And if GBA is relinquishing it, it's not anything that they would then necessarily recruit for.
Yeah, related to the deliverables that are in our contract. I think we can all acknowledge that there's always a limited scope of what we actually pay for versus what the committee takes on and, wants to accomplish. But yes, if we have a contract with Greenbelt Alliance, there's deliverables in that contract. It's through June. So if those deliverables can't be accomplished by Greenbelt Alliance, then we get to plan A and then future scoping. But we're in as much of a holding pattern as everybody else, because we're waiting to understand from Greenbelt Alliance what their short and long-term plans and capacity are before speculating around what it might look like for us to either stopgap the current contract, let alone future bid or ownership.
Yeah, so hopefully there's a silver lining in all this, which is like asking all of these questions and being able to reimagine some things.
I think the opportunity is to put a lot more energy into the programs that we have. I mean, ultimately, if I were to boil down the problem is that the Greenbelt Alliance, the builder side of that, the membership side of that, has been subsidizing Energy Savers Network and the community council. And now it is no longer capable, because of the bleeding that they have incurred up to this point, that they're no longer capable of providing that subsidy.
I would take issue with that, but I would suggest that in the same way that some previous decisions, some previous funding sources, some previous philosophies in the way that Greenbelt was administered were inconsistent with long-term sustainability of the organization. And I think the thing that I'm proud of as being a part of the board and just speaking for myself is that we're taking kind of a diligent and data-based process to identifying a sustainable path forward. I think the work that Greenbelt has been able to accomplish in the community is laudable and should continue. I don't think that there is anything that suggests that Greenbelt can't be a programmatic organization that runs multiple different kinds of programs. I think that there is an element of where like kind of the legacy delivery, like Michelle, to your point of ESN, the support for BHP and GBA as a program and not as an organization, have been a little confusing and a little inconsistent with each other. And that led all the way, had ramifications that led all the way through to staff
that in a way that wasn't sustainable. The kind of a newish board has taken some really short-term action to get us to a like within the year sustainable position. And now we're closing in on that plan that gets us well beyond a year or two. And I do think that the cornerstone of that, likely does involve a significant change around how ESN is delivered. For me, just kind of in that almost unique position as sitting on the board of both GBA and then also on the community council, I really think that like there's a symbiotic relationship in what Greenbelt is able to provide for Blue Horizons project and then in the other direction as well. And I, for one, would like to see that continue. And then I think too, that like your starting point was the sustainable existence for ESN. And I think that remains part of our North Star as well. Like, I think there is very much a future where Greenbelt doesn't run ESN, but that doesn't mean that we're not committed to its continued existence and potentially even significant growth.
Should be significant. But there should just.
Yeah, I mean, there's a need for more of those services for those
Right,
communities
barely.
as part of the energy transition. No question.
I just wanted to mention something because I had an interesting conversation with an HVAC installer the other day, and they've been thinking about the state. They're not really going to be point of sale rebates, but the state subsidies for low and moderate income households for energy efficiency and improved HVAC systems. And the price tag on that is $16,000. And if we could shave off, like to do a full energy efficiency upgrade overhaul on a home, that doesn't leave enough actually for a new HVAC system. Especially with some of the new refrigerant changes and just there's a inflation, like they cost more than I think that the state will actually be able to provide a complete suite of both weatherization and HVAC upgrade. So there's a real value in these free and subsidized weatherization programs. Community action opportunities, which this HVAC installer happens to serve on the board of, has a 1.5 year backlog. And so I just think that there's a bunch of these puzzle pieces, and if BHPCC is the right group to piece them together, that would be really wonderful. If it's the navigator position, which I'd love to hear more about actually, if you guys care to, then maybe that is it. But if these institute, like a navigator is helping people find institutions. If the institutions are, one has a 1.5 year backlog, one needs to find a home, maybe it is the role of the BHPCC to think about like what would help to be the best structure there, because really we need to get these people as much subsidized weatherization if we're actually going to be able to do electrification, which is our aim, right?
It sounds like it'd be a great subcommittee or something, right? Like what is the we, I guess, in that of BHPCC, but.
A subcommittee
Yeah.
or if we could tackle it here. I mean, the subcommittees become additional time thing.
Sure.
And like our agenda is actually in terms of content of like
So yeah.
programmatic
fit
stuff
as
is
a group.
pretty light, but
I think it's a great concept for this.
I just wanted to mention it because I do see so much value in ESN. And I also know that community action opportunities, like I hope that folks that might be in a position to start thinking through those puzzle pieces and have relationships with community action opportunities, or, we've had in our strategic plan, it specifically says we need to do a better job of threading the needle between ESN and community action opportunities. So while all of this is being stirred up, it might be a really good opportunity to see where this home is going to be, and maybe those two programs could work better together. And I'm happy to support in any way I can but I am not in that space really.
An interesting observation as we've talked about it so far, we've talked about most of the other pieces than ourselves of questioning ourselves of why are we coming together once a month and what role are we playing? Where I really look, what I valued in the council when I joined last year as a community council member is this concept of transitioning Buncombe County and Asheville to clean energy. And there's a component of that where there are people that can't afford it. An Energy Savers Network comes in and your discussion comes in. I think there's also this component of changing the social norms and the information that's out there for people that can't afford it, which is a lot of people in Buncombe County that aren't making those decisions right now. And finding, where can we use our voices and our influence as a suite of people here that have a fair amount of influence when you look at the connections and the people and the skill set around this table to try and shift that within the county and the city. and challenge ourselves to say, what have we accomplished over the last year towards really shifting the energy dynamics in the county, in the city, and what can we do over the next 2 to 3 years? I think the transition and the discussions that are going on as the community council, I'd like to see us focus on what does that mean about us and how effective are we at making this transition happen and how can we improve that? And how have we used the resource, the time that we've been granted from the city and the county money that's gone to Jamie, that's come alongside and support us with staff to really try and make that, leverage that and make it effective. I just think it can lead to a really interesting conversation that I think early this week is a week too early. If Greenbelt Alliance is making decisions a week from now. But I'd love to hear, like, county and the city have been putting, and Duke have been putting money into us as a community council. I'd also love to hear reflections on, maybe not today, but reflections on, what you see as value out of this community council and where you'd like to see us go also.
I'd like to see that.
I'll add a clarification. Duke Energy no longer, we did at one
Okay, you
point
did.
put a lot
Okay, I
of,
didn't
put funding
wasn't aware of that.
into when it was the Energy Innovation Task Force, but I believe all
Okay.
your funding at this point, aside from contract services.
Yeah.
Right, but just for
And
clarification.
thanks for that clarification.
Absolutely, no problem. And yeah, so we do through contract services, through weatherization and things like that. But as far as like administrative support for Duke.
Would you like to give money again?
I think
Nice segue, Keith.
I mean, when I made the comment about subsidizing it, I'm just happy that GBA has been in support of this activity. But I think that the overall support of this activity really needs to be a lot greater than what we have for it really to be effective. To even, and I'm not sure whether that's, or either that or we go away. I mean, it's one or the other. To me, I mean, to me, this kind of activity deserves at least one full-time equivalent person paid to help coordinate this, maybe a couple of people, and we're not anywhere close to that in terms of funding that's available now. Now, we could go out to the community and try to do some fundraising, for that. We tried last year and I don't think it went very far, right, Jamie? I mean, we did the Clean Energy Dream campaign. We got some money that was to support ESN and to support the Clean Energy Dream campaign, but it was not the kind of fundraiser, not the kind of support that is really what we need.
Yeah. Well, I think that there were some really good ideas thrown out, and I appreciate the opportunity to say them in front of everybody who kind of has a finger in this. We'll look for an update. If there is a formal announcement after next week, let us know. If you guys are still deliberating, that's okay too. We may put it on for old business for the next agenda, to follow up the conversation. But thanks for sharing all those moving bits.
3:47. I
Continue.
made an executive timekeeper. This is productive conversation that should continue. However, it is 3:47.
I was like, are we?
No, yeah, we are. I gave you the link, but I thought this was.
Yeah, that was
And you
good.
said we were a light agenda. So.
It is a late agenda, and
We might have put the numbers different maybe at the beginning,
huh?
because the numbers for like the
Yeah.
timekeeping is kind of arbitrary.
Don't ask,
So-
Yeah, I think
we're gonna like.
I
we're on
hope
track.
I hope that we have more than 5 minutes for electrify Asheville Buncombe. Sophie's here and can talk for 5 minutes. We don't need you to talk for more than 5 minutes.
You have negative.
But I do feel like our group
Maybe we could just do this.
has a role in making sure that the program is successful. So I want to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to contribute and offer feedback as well as just hear from you directly. So it's not just a presentation style, but do your
Oh, I
thing.
have no reason.
Perfect. If you did, you have 5 minutes.
I do have. You have some notes that I can read from, provide some updates. Are we ready?
Yep.
Very ready.
I think I know everybody in this room, so maybe no introduction necessary. I think we met just one time. It's nice to see you again. Oh, there's some people on the street.
Yeah,
I'm so
please,
sorry.
sorry,
We
Sophia.
always forget that. I apologize for that faux pas. Hey, I am Sophie Molinax. I work with Electrify Asheville Buncombe, which is it's an electrification campaign in Buncombe County and Asheville. And we're partnering with the city and the county and Greenbelt Alliance to bring more home electrification and awareness to the Inflation Reduction Act, the opportunities therein, clean energy financing, which is a first in our state, training and engagement of contractors in the community around electrification and what that means. I see Emily's on as well. So Emily, feel free to chime in with anything that you would like that I maybe botch. So just electric. Hey, Emily.
Wrong way.
So Electrify Asheville Buncombe launched in around Earth Day 2024. And we had sort of just a soft launch. We had a stakeholder launch at the East Asheville Library that I know many of you were at. The work leading up to that launch started probably in September of 2023, where we released a request for information to contractors in the community, HVAC and plumbing in particular, and received information based on like their capacity, the types of equipment and services that they provide and install in Buncombe County, just trying to get a lay of the land. From there, we started having meetings and building relationships with these contractors. And to date on our platform, which is accessible at both electrifyabc.com and letsgoelectric.com, we have 13 contractors onboarded, and they comprise HVAC, plumbing, electricians, solar, electric lawn equipment. And that's it, I think, right now. Energy auditors, sorry, that's a big one. And in the user category of these are people who have gone and made a profile on Electrify Asheville Buncombe, answered 7 to 10 questions about their homes, demographic, size, age, types of fuels used in the home, 164.
Woohoo.
Yeah, well, we wish it were a lot higher.
Okay.
I'll go into some of, I'm calling these opportunities, and I have A through I to read. So we do a variety of engagements, but we're learning as we go because this is a pilot program and it's the first of its kind here. And the first of its kind, among the first of its kind nationwide, as far as we can tell. So what works for some of the other work that the company I work for does not necessarily work for this type of campaign. So if you didn't know, the other arm of the work that I work on is solarized campaigns, which are limited time group purchase solar campaigns around the country. And they're just a very different animal. So have a lot of experience there, but less experience in this kind of group purchase clean energy campaign that is not time bound and involves many contractors. So those variables make it a little bit of a challenge for us because we've never done it before, and that's okay. So some of the outreach that we do are monthly newsletters and engagement or events for both types of these users, both contractors and community members who have made a profile or we would like to invite to make a profile and start on their electrification journey. We've got 2 team members, including Emily Hurd, who's on the line, as well as another person named Casey who work on social media and our newsletters and helping us spread the word, getting in partner newsletters, writing blogs. We've recently taken a deep dive into looking at our search engine optimization, aka SEO, which is quite an eye-opening world. And so we hope to be able to just maximize and amplify the presence that we do have on the web. This is Asheville. I've always found it in the work that I've done here, it's a little bit hard to get in front of people that are new. You know, a lot of times you're going to the Sugar Hollow anniversary party and you see, you know, everybody you know there. So getting in front of new audiences, the folks who can most benefit from electrification is a perennial challenge for us. So the opportunities that I think I and my team see upcoming in this fiscal year, we also are supported by a generous contract with the city of Asheville and Buncombe County, like GBA. And in our contract, and as well as within GBAs, we are
tasked with collaborating on large pieces of work. So part of the work that we've done to launch Electrify Asheville Buncombe is we built an app that's web-based, and we're constantly working on it. So we're working on getting more insight and reporting into how that app is being used, who's using it, what are the actions they're taking. We want to see the messages that folks are sending to contractors. We want to see any files that are uploaded. We want to see answers to questions. Tightening up leakage and contractor reporting. This is a big problem. So in two-sided marketplaces, which is what our app is, there's always leakage. So there's people who might go on a website, find a contractor, and then like go off of that platform and just engage with the contractor by themselves for whatever reason. You know, if they think it's easier to cut out the middle person or whatever. But we're trying to, I guess, crack the nut of communicating. This is like a community-based program, and we want to have the numbers and a big group effort behind electrification for our communities. We want to be able to highlight the people who are going all electric. We want to be able to highlight the contractors who are on board with this. It's just, that's a hard message to get. So we're working on that. We are working on contractor reporting as well. So any of the contractors, of which there are 13 who perform work through our platform, are supposed to be reporting to us. Because one of the stipulations in how we fund the program is with a 5% platform or administrative fee for every project that flows through the platform. And so that's not the only reason to report, but that is also how we get paid. We also want to see what types of projects are being done, what parts of Buncombe County they're being done in, which contractors are getting the most business and why, all sorts of reasons we want and need contractors to report their work. We are working on ensuring that the services provided through Electrify Asheville Buncombe meet expectations. We had a lovely conversation with Jim the other day on just a mismatch of expectations with the service provider, and are always listening and learning, adjusting the services in the way that they're communicated and the way that they're delivered and reported out. We would love to have more contractors onboarded. I'm also working on some training modules for new contractors. Currently, that onboarding process looks like a phone call with yours truly, and where I basically talk to them and then train them, but would love to get that recorded so it can be more automated. Talking about the Navigator program. Am I doing okay on time? A lot. Okay. So as part of this Navigator program that I think everybody's heard about, we have right now 6 staff between our organization and GBA who are serving as navigators for Electrify Asheville Buncombe. And this is designed to be a concierge service where anybody who needs help from accessing Electrify Asheville Buncombe to navigating financing, to navigating the rebates, to figuring out what service they might need first, prioritizing, comparing of different quotes that they might receive as part of Electrify Asheville Buncombe. We are preparing ourselves, the 6 of us, to be on a rotation where we'll take calls or meetings to address that and have one-on-ones with people in the community to walk them through making a profile, you know, identifying what's the next priority thing. Like if they, if they have already gone all electric, maybe they should get solar, and that kind of thing. But really being a source of trusted information that can also stay abreast with the up and coming information about Homes in Here. All right, they changed it. It used to be called Hera.
It's
Her in here now.
It's her in here, but people still say homes because it's confusing.
All over the literature.
That the state
Because
is
it
still
was-
putting out the word homes because it's confusing. Yeah.
Her in here. One exciting piece of this is that we have a partnership with RMI and their green upgrade calculator. And we will be using that in our navigation services in some fashion. Because it is a really great piece, a really great tool to compare and actually look at energy saving and dollars saved when looking at different fuels or different types of appliances and comparing quotes and that kind of thing. Let's see, mid-September is our soft internal goal for getting the Navigator program launched. Probably a little aggressive. We're preparing as much as possible for her and here rebates. We're trying to keep our ear to the ground as much as everybody else is, I think. But want to be able to be a source of information and getting the word out about that opportunity for our community. Jamie and I were just meeting with Beloved Asheville this morning, and they're so excited because it's a demographic and it's information that the communities they serve definitely really
Who did you say?
Beloved Asheville.
Okay.
Let's see. Few more items. We're preparing potentially for another Solarize campaign here in Asheville for next year. And whether that will sit on our Electrify Asheville Buncombe framework or somewhere else. We've already scheduled our electric fair for next year, March 8th, save the date. And we have a variety of upcoming events that I hope have been shared with you all that I will be able to share with you after this meeting. Including some events that Jim is leading, thank you, at his church, his neighborhood. We're going to be at the Festival of Neighborhoods with Greenbelt Alliance, which is September 14th. We are trialing a drop-in coffee hour type thing at coffee shops at different places in Buncombe County, partnering with some of the contractors on our platform to just post up and have people drop in with questions. We'll buy them a coffee. Trying this out.
No, that's.
And so we have a
Sounds
newsletter that goes out, right?
Yeah, we've got a contractor newsletter and a community newsletter, each once a month, every 2 weeks.
Is there something next week?
Hopefully.
Is that the neighborhood festival?
There is a neighborhood
Find
festival
out,
next
see it.
weekend.
The next thing I have on like Drive Electric, yep, will be there at the outlet malls, outlet mall.
Are you guys going to
So-
Festival of Neighborhoods?
So what are you doing on Saturday, September 21st?
Watch out.
Pick up on my side.
Isn't that Drive Electric?
No,
No,
29th,
that's
it's a
29th.
Sunday.
So the Hawk Creek Community Association
Oh, you can't-
is having their annual garage sale. So I purchased a booth for Blue Horizons or whatever to just table there and everything and share.
If
So-
possible, someone on my team can come. I can't personally come.
Yeah.
What about community organizations or different community organizations in general, I guess would probably be a good ones to reach out to.
We
Different
had-
neighborhood associations.
Right, we had a great consultation with Micah Kraus, and she gave us a lot of great ideas that we're starting to act on. You'll see us in the Mountain True newsletter in October. We're getting a blurb for them. And other different types of venues that have a different reach than we have, including neighborhoods, but team is small, the work is great, time is short, doing our best.
What is the capacity of like the BHP newsletter right now and the social media page?
We haven't really been working with it very much, but I'm happy to.
Because I see all the Let's Go Electric stuff. It would be easy enough to hit share.
Mhm.
But you don't have to
Post with y'all, just invite you as a collaborator.
Gotcha.
Our team member Casey is like the whiz at this and is the mastermind behind all that content.
She is.
I have an electrified open house.
Yeah.
Tuesday the 16th. Oh my God.
Tuesday, that's the one in Biltmore Park.
Yeah, I saw that today.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Bill.
Saw that too.
So
See,
could we,
I have that, but I have no
So-
information.
I'm just a little, I would love to see these events. If we don't even know about them, I feel like that's,
Yeah, so to be fair, they're on electrifyabc.com. Under news and events.
And to shoot a
I-
spotlight, the residential portion of electrification app, from our perspective, is in the GBA contract. So I think there is an appropriate role for this council, the engagement committee, collaboration and support of right spaces and the like back-end tech contractor piece of the work, the outreach and engagement piece of the work from a like city county contract perspective, which is where the money's at the moment, lives at Greenbelt Alliance, lives in Blue Horizon Council. Obviously very much collaborative, but like this sort of meeting in a box, like you've got a neighborhood association and you've got a table. Like there should just be a kit you can pick up and go. Like it doesn't rely on Sophie and her team being there. And so the infrastructure development and what that looks like, how the materials are easy, consistent, pretty, like match with the campaign, like readable, like, yeah, plain language, connected to the right QR code that goes to the right website, like all the nuts and bolts of how to do that kind of campaign where we can really activate community level volunteers, like that lives at Blue Horizons project and is activated through the Greenbelt Alliance contract. So as we have some clarity on like where, how staff capacity exists to support that work, I really see that, you know, being executed through the engagement campaign with staff support that's comes back to contract deliverables.
And as the engagement committee, y'all are engaged, right? So maybe we could have a brainstorm on what y'all are doing and what other ideas or capacity we have. Would that be good?
Yeah, actually, I even think like the linkages as you're hosting conference, like we have that we've shared with you that we've kind of worked on is this idea of a neighborhood champion and is doing the one in Biltmore Park. I can tell you as I'm the person in Biltmore Park, or as Jamie's the person in Swananoa, you need somebody that lives there that's owning it. So that's why I didn't want to make those first calls, because I've really, like, I'm on the next door neighbor list. I'm a member of the community that can post to the next door neighbor Biltmore Park list that goes to all the people that live in Biltmore Park. There's like 180 people on next door that you can't have access to, but that I can send a custom message to that I've done to advertise the event. Same thing, there's a Facebook page that's custom. You have to live in Biltmore Park to get into it. You can't get into it, but I can. And similarly, like you can't get into, there's places that the person that lives there can spend some time and learn how that group communicates and where you post things and how you share things in that ecosystem to actually get it out to the people that are speaking to each other and that host the social events and get it out that we need to leverage and have people that are identifying themselves as owning networks or communities that are willing to put in a little bit of time saying, okay, as I get these things fed to me, I can create another post and say, hey, there's a coffee at the Mosaic Coffee Shop to all the people in Biltmore Park. And get that post out pretty quickly once I'm given content, or once I'm given just a date and time, I can create the content and find an image.
Right, but
And
even easier if there's some infrastructure.
If there's infrastructure and
12
this
people
consistent
here, and there's
messaging.
25 other people, and
Yeah.
ideally there's 50 other people, but the further you get, the less content expertise you have. So like to hold that with the templates, the content expertise and the consistency of messaging.
Which goes back to
Here.
Brad's comment on that's a staff person. That's
Right.
like a staff
Yeah.
person that's committed to working on it. That's not like that, creating that and maintaining that content with the leaks stay current and.
Right, but
Yeah.
to be able to access the capacity to be exponentially more impactful, we have to be able to like have that meeting in
that
a
would be
box, like
wonderful.
ready to roll.
So
Like
how do you
funding
think
of
that,
support.
so right now, you are 100% correct. We have an opportunity at Hog Creek to maybe have this thing. I know that there's some materials that have already been made. But like where are we acting on this call, like for this next?
We're in a little bit of a holding pattern to find out where staff capacity at GBA is and will be in terms of like how to activate contract resources. But it's a contract deliverable. So the long term, that's a medium term question. The short term, like, what does Bright Spaces have that can make a temporary meeting in a box? I think is really like, how do you help? You know, build the toolbox with the opportunity at hand, which is like the Hog Creek meeting or whatever else y'all have going on around this table.
Well, we kind of did it at fans, right?
Well, we kind of, I mean, no, we just started the engagement at fans. So right now, for Swananoa, we've sat down with the board, got them to agree, we will support you in doing community meeting, and they gave us a bunch of ideas, like show up at their yard sale, what venues they thought were appropriate, some names of people to connect. But we don't even have a date and a time yet at fans for a meeting.
So then I think the flow is like me as staff or me as the neighborhood leader should do that work to try to get the community meeting in Solano, because it's my background. So then putting that into like the context of Keith's opportunity for outreach, like Keith's neighborhood leader, someone should come in and do the work, either me or one of the people from the community engagement committee or a council member to come and do that outreach and then come back and report back to the group. So like the idea of fans was like, we're trying to do this model where it's like, what is a neighborhood leader? Well, they're not really the presenter. They're really like the relationship connector.
Yes.
I think too, like the meeting in a box thing is a really tangible concept that we should really be able to get our hands around. And like we should be able to, like, what should be in that box should be pretty clear, should be pretty easy, you know, like should be maintainable. I would also say too, that like for the purposes of like the ongoing discussions of this group, I think it's a fair stake in the ground to assert that GBA will have staffing levels sufficient to support the contract in the medium and ideally long-term future until we hear otherwise.
People are, just because there's a question about where they might sit, people will be. So it's not, shouldn't be a question.
Well, and just for the sake of keeping conversation moving, and I think like that we've seen fairly consistent support from the board to make that a pretty safe statement. But like, you know, like it seems like maybe it's within the purview of this group to figure out what goes in that meeting in a box. And then, you know, perhaps kind of Jim and the committee takes it from there and figures out how to deploy that into that neighborhood champion model.
Yeah.
But like the box, if you will, itself seems like it should be a pretty kind of transactional or straightforward thing that we should be able to define pretty simply.
And that you can customize.
Yeah.
Because you know your neighbors. I could give a presentation to them, but you would probably do it better, you know.
Yeah, and even from.
We have to move on in a couple minutes,
Or
but
yield the rest. We have 20 minutes left. So
yeah, I do want to hear from, so this is is there a unique piece of this conversation to the community engagement committee? Like this kind of is flowing into the community. Under community engagement, it says electrify Asheville Buncombe neighborhood outreach. So are we just, can we call this part of that committee report?
Can we just make one other point in there? And then I think we can.
Yeah.
So that Mike was gonna make a pitch, but unfortunately she is ill and gives everybody her best graces, but is staying away on the hope of healing and protecting all of us.
Yeah.
So we can all thank her. So one of the pieces that we have been working on that we spoke to you on before is this idea of neighborhood champions. And I will just start with a full recognition that everybody in this room, I understand, wears multiple hats, including a job and a lot of commitments that you bring into this room, which is the very reason you're sitting in this room, because the amount of people around this table has a lot of skills and connections and backgrounds that amount to something where we hope we can get it to move the clean energy transition forward in our county and our city. But one of the things that as the community council, we really need help with, and as the subcommittee on reaching out to neighborhoods, is people taking some ownership and just saying, I will find those ways into my neighborhood. Or maybe you know somebody else that's passionate about the environment in your neighborhood and you can recruit them to be that person. Where we really need people to take some ownership and say, I live in this neighborhood and I'm willing to put my name on a sheet and actually go figure out how to get into the local yard sale, and with really a goal of driving to the point where we're hosting a meeting in the committee, not just sitting at the yard sale to sit at the yard sale and have a table with some pre-designed graphics, but really with this idea of how do we get a presentation in the committee that the subcommittee will come along and help make a presentation for you at any time. Right now, we've got, one neighborhood lined up with a talk, one neighborhood with a good commitment from a community group and a person inside where we're lining up a date and a time and a location. And then a few other neighborhoods where we're making really solid inroads. But we just want to come back as a subcommittee and ask each of you to consider what neighborhoods do you live in? And is there a way that you could make a personal commitment to just figuring out how you can help us get in front of that community? Because we have plenty of opportunity to speak. The opportunity to speak, the people that can speak isn't our problem. It's actually the invitations to come into the community from somebody that lives there. And that's right now, the only people we have with the funding we have is the 12 of us are on this table to go out and reach out to those people. We can recruit our friends, we can recruit people in other neighborhoods we know, but we don't have other access. We can't go pay people to coordinate these meetings or even pay people to live in the neighborhoods. I mean, I think it really is valuable when you find somebody that lives there. So the request that we have is that you each consider going onto that, being a neighborhood champion and clicking onto that sheet and figuring out if there's any way you can help us with neighborhoods around Asheville Buncombe to penetrate into getting a meeting set up there.
And this is linked in the agenda.
And that's the link that's in the agenda, if you pull up the
Great.
agenda.
Yeah. I would just add to that, if you know someone in another neighborhood where you don't live that you think might be interested in this, then help us make that connection so that we can follow up with them. Because if we all just do our own neighborhoods, we're looking at 10 or 12 neighborhoods. There's 94 on our list.
I think this is really good. We've talked about this before. What I want to come back to is what are we so it feels really overwhelming if you're like, help us develop the meeting in a box or like build the tools. But if we had the tools and it would just be like, here's the blurb I want you to email to your listserv.
Yes.
So I think maybe if we could brainstorm what those things are, and please do go and put your name on the spreadsheet, but if we could come back to that other conversation,
Yeah.
I think it might be more tangible,
Yep,
like
yep.
what you're actually asking people to do. And so I want to cut that down because that was really, I think we were going somewhere good with that. We're almost running out of time and I'm going to stop this conversation at 4:25 for a public comment and just feedback. We do have a couple guests here today. So before we end the meeting, I just want to hear what your general thoughts are. Or if you have any questions, please, everyone who's on the computer, want you to be able to participate too. So don't hesitate to come off mute and interrupt and jump in. So, okay, what needs to be in the box, right? Or are we talking about a tabling box? Are we talking about a whole toolkit?
So the box thing, we started.
Is it a physical box to take to a place or is
like
this?
A thumb drive plus a few rack cards, plus a stand-up banner, like, so the physical materials that we have that are branded and we can make more. We have some t-shirts, I wore this for you all today. We have a stand-up banner. We've got two-sided rack cards and, thinking of other campaigns, but yes, that's all we have at the moment. We can make more.
A couple more than that. So you guys, your staff,
Oh,
really
and one
quickly for me,
pagers.
for the talk I'm doing, created a Asheville Buncombe logo, Electrify Asheville Buncombe, date and time, and some
We can
nice
make
little
you a drawing.
graphics on a card. They also created a 4-up. So I printed a bunch of those in color, cut them in 4 with my own color, code them and handed out to like 5 people in my neighborhood that are handing them out door to door and to people they know. That's also in the box. I will say having given a couple of talks now, the most valuable asset in the box is this simple 1 page. This is about all I hand out. It's branded Electrify Asheville Buncombe, and it's got all the incentives kind of in one place that really tells people where they can save money when they walk out of here with home projects they have of putting in a new door, putting in a new window, getting a furnace, where like this is to me the 1 page you want them to walk out with. The other pieces I think we can create include some really short text. Like what do you want to say in a 1 month out in your event description? What do you want to say 2 weeks out? What do you want to say 5 days
So
out?
we have all of that. We have all of that.
Social media.
So the box is good, and maybe above the box we could put in like digital resources. And so I think you need a Facebook post, is this the digital
Instructions on
resources?
how to do that, like who do you tag and what words do you use?
A recruitment email. And then, like you said, a reminder email, right? And then I think even just a blurb for the newsletter that isn't even, you don't even need to have an event. And even if you have an event, it's not a bad idea to follow up after the event, because everybody in your neighborhood that gets the newsletter is not necessarily coming to that meeting, right? So just like here's a blurb you can put in your community, like the thing that's going out to Mountain True, like that's not an invitation to an event, that's just like go to the website, right? Because what I would love is to hear that the number of people that have taken that profile goes from 134 to like 2,000. Because what I imagine is that they're going to start getting your newsletter, and there's going to be a really long sales lead for these big home system improvements. And you need a big number of people in the pipeline before you're going to see large swaths of people taking action. It's usually about 10% over like a longer period of time as a conversion, right? So you need a bigger list to get to 10% to have a notable impact.
The more people on the list, the more value to your trade outlets, the more value to your trade outlets, the more likely they are to not leak out of the system too, right?
Right, yeah,
Yeah.
yes.
I like the
lot
notion
of-
too, for people who don't want to go all the way to hosting, to have just the digital resources to post wherever we know how. Is also a step one, right? And so getting those in front of at least this whole group and to share however makes sense.
That was that ladder of engagement we were talking about. The first thing on the ladder of engagement is post on social media one time.
Now, I'll say Emily on our team, I don't think she's on the call anymore, but she's got a whole host of ideas and activities, including more interactive things that you can do if you're sitting in someone's living room versus in a 40-person meeting room that could be tailored. So I don't want there to be too much on here, but just know that got two really creative people who balance out my non-creative mind, so I'm gonna use them.
I think the trick is also making it accessible, like there's the 12 people here, but to the other end of the ladder of engagement, there's a lot of content expertise here, but people who don't speak this language can still get their neighbors together and be like, how do we be a part of a clean energy transition? And so there's like a facilitator's guide or whatever, there's like what you're learning from having your conversations, what questions people usually ask, how do you answer them? Some like evolving resources that we don't have to go to the neighborhood tabling event where you're just like handing out rack cards, but eventually we want people not at this table who are motivated to be part of the solution, to have the tools they need to host a baseline conversation and then send people along. And that feels like
It's almost like documenting the ladder itself. And then like, to me, that feels a little bit distinct from the meeting in a box, but I think there would be a lot of overlap, like you just kind of got me excited about like the idea that, you know, like with the ladder as your device that you could understand, but hey, you know, here's what you automatically do with somebody who approached the table and here's what you do next. And like and then like, you know, the materials that support each step on the ladder. That's cool. Yeah.
and how is it not an overwhelming Google Drive folder?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I think that's the challenge
Right.
back to paid staff is like, how do we make these materials easy to find when Clary's like, oh, I got a newsletter going out tomorrow, that it doesn't rely on like getting a call back from Sophie or Jamie, that like we have some infrastructure built out where people who want to contribute can find what they need to contribute and that it's branded and it's consistent and it's plain language and it goes to the right website. Because if we're all creating our own stuff, guilty, it usually doesn't go to the right website or whatever. We make mistakes.
Yeah, and you're making me think that we just need a spot on our website to put our kit. Like, if
Yeah.
You know, like we did for electric fair, we had like a social media kit for all of the contractors.
And if you could do that by the
Actually helped out a
19th,
lot
it'd be
with that.
helpful.
So I wonder, so you heard Keith, he said, if you do that by the 19th, that'd be helpful. So there's this whole thing that we need for like, if you're gonna be a neighborhood captain and like the recruitment for an event and all this stuff. But Keith has a tabling event, and I feel like maybe we could be a simplified thing that we can actually just get Keith materials, we can utilize the table that he's paid for on our behalf. So what's in the tabling box versus what's in the bigger event box? Maybe we could have a tool, that could be sorry, thank you, Jamie, thank you. And I feel like that's just a rack card, which is the front and back with a QR code, is that right? Am I correct? Am I wrong? Right.
I think so. There should be some floating around this office, but not like a collection.
Maybe a sign up sheet, which I know there's
Then
templates.
if you would take a picture of and email to us.
Yes, and then also we want to make sure like it's on the GB.
And then, so
the-
sign up sheet, like every time I do sign up sheets, I am very clear on the bottom on whose email, who am I giving this
Yeah.
to? Who's gonna be emailing you? And it's one entity. It's not, I'm gonna give this to Greenbelt Alliance and Blue Horizons Project and Let's Go Electric and anybody else that might come along and be doing this work.
Now,
Like,
if
we
you
need to
sign
just
up on an
define that as a
electrified
group.
EPC list, we will sign you up for one of our lists that we have in our.
So it
CRM
goes to
that's
Let's Go
community
Electric, not,
newsletter.
Yeah,
like-
but, and, we want the list.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. We need
Yeah,
to-
I'm not-
There's still a tension there. I feel, I'm like, if you have an
You
email.
feel like
list
it's a
of one of
rule that
these,
it has to be one, you don't think it can be both of those? as
It
part of
can be
theirs?
both of them.
I think we have to do that for now, just because that's a private company that's
Right,
doing this, and that's fine, but we are good, the neighborhood community group that lives in this community, we want the list. So we
Yeah,
want them to be on Electrify, and
but, or can't they just both be the same thing somehow?
I was
Like,
gonna
I
say,
don't know
are
if
you
they're.
discussing the
different.
difference,
Yeah.
the delineating lines
Yeah.
between those two entities in your presentation? Like, does anybody understand?
No,
BHPCC
good heavens, I can
versus
hardly
Go
describe the
Electric?
difference
So-
to people in
All
my
of Larry
community. I try not to explain the
Rotating
difference to
cast
people.
characters here.
I know, and we all are, friends and neighbors, but, yeah, so I think we do need to put on the bottom that this will enroll you in the Electrify Asheville Buncombe campaign, and you will also be added to the
Yeah,
Blue Horizons Project email list. I think that's,
Two is not overwhelming.
and if you say campaign and email list, I think it's fine. Sorry to be firm on that.
then I just
but
like. to
I really don't like
table this
when
whole
programs
business,
rob
how
from
we grow the-
institutions, and we need to make sure that both are healthy.
Yeah, I think that one
Did you
was
hear
good. I was
Virginia
gonna say
say?
short term.
Table for after the staffing issues get settled down, how we're managing and who's growing the Blue Horizons or Greenbelt Alliance. You're saying it's a Blue Horizons project email list, Blue Horizons project email list.
That is correct.
Who owns,
So
where
we
is
can
that? sit?
Email
Who's
them at the
managing
next
it?
solarized.
Like you need a database administrator, you need somebody owning. it.
Electrify.
Or not.
Okay, so Keith's gonna get a rat card, a sign up sheet, maybe something
Would
that's.
you like us to
This
put
thing.
that banner?
Right here, this.
Couple
one.
t-shirts.
This is the,
And
sorry, this one.
And that, that's what I'll really want to go
Yeah,
to.
it's in color.
And I might suggest that actually becomes a digital communication. That's the first
It-
thing
it
that
is.
you send after someone
Yeah.
does something, because a lot of those are hyperlinks.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, you mean.
And or they'll lose.
Because if
Someone
you
going
communicate
through-
with someone right after they sign up for something, you just have a much higher conversion rate. And that's a really good follow-up, because everybody wants it.
Yeah, we're terrible.
And it explains the value, it explains, this is the value.
And it could be something that is maybe a GBA role then,
Yep.
or something, right? A
Have you seen it?
BHP contract will be to follow up with that.
So it would be helpful if this had a QR code on it, because if you give somebody a piece of paper, it's really hard to get the addresses off. QR codes, though, are easy,
That takes you to the PDF of it.
because it
So-
takes you to the
Or-
PDF of
yeah,
it that has all the
that's-
active.
We have to
ones.
wrap this pretty soon, but we
I
are
have
having
lots
a,
of notes I can follow up with you.
we have a happy hour after this. We can stay here after, but I do need to take public comment before the official end of the meeting. We also do have another committee. Did innovation meet?
No, we.
That's great. That's great. And then I wanted to make sure that folks from the Equity Task Force, I don't think there was a meeting, but I specifically wanted to give some space in the agenda just to hear like what general thoughts about all this mayhem are, or if there's anything coming up on the committee that we should have on our radar.
I would like to, I heard you say that you're going to be at the festival, the neighborhood festival on the 14th.
Loopy, say that one more time. The neighborhood, we were talking about the Festival of Neighborhoods?
Yes, are you all gonna be there?
Yeah.
We are.
That's- That would be an ample opportunity for you to get in touch with the legacy neighborhoods. All the legacy neighborhoods will have booths there, so you can get in touch with them through, let them know that you want to come and have a meeting at their meeting. So it would be a good opportunity, and that's the legacy neighborhoods that I'm talking about.
Loopy, you're a genius, because all of the neighborhoods will be there, actually. All of the neighborhood associations, or not all of them, but many of them are having booths, so like
Yeah.
yes, and all of them.
Yes, so that's an opportunity to get their information and tell them that you wanna come to one of their neighborhood meetings. And and it's a good way to present.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. I don't. Gerald's on. Is there, for public comment, is there any other member of the public that would like to make a comment? All right. Where would we like to go for happy hour? And continue a heated conversation about what goes in the box.
I gotta go to Sierra Club
Oh.
membership meeting.
Thanks
So,
to the digital box, and they're in this digital box, there will be certain instructions that if you need a physical box.
Oh.
Physical box,
Yeah,
contact somebody.
somebody on electrify
We'll
campaign.
get you a box,
Okay.
like a week's notice.
Can I ask clarification? Is the box an electrify box or a BHPCC?
It's an electrify.
It's an electrify
It
box,
takes the
right?
Yeah, it's a
Yes.
slowly electrify
Okay.
Asheville bunker.
So wouldn't hurt to have a tablecloth in an electrified box?
Yes.
Well, she's saying it's
Got the
a
budget for
Oh,
this.
It
goes a long way for credibility.
Everybody on the phone.
Yes.
Wrap it up there, yeah?
As the budget
Yeah.
to staff this and to support
Cause that was
supplies
one of
to
the-
And it-
support this because it's in their contract.
Is the festival of neighborhoods?
Even though I know you're picking up. a
We're-
lot of
do
it.
you-
We're going to Festival
Is it a
Neighborhoods.
Festival of
Yeah.
Homes?
So
Yeah.
the Festival of Neighborhoods is put on by the city and it's
MLK.
But this is Greenbelt's.
Oh,
It's
I'm
not
looking
on-
at Electrify, and I don't see it on here.
Yeah,
It might be called Festival of Homes on there.
says
Yeah.
Festival of
Unfortunately,
Homes.
yeah. That's typo. It'll be fixed.
September 14th.
Yeah, it's at Martin Luther King.
yeah, and all the neighborhood
Oh,
associations have
gotcha.
been invited to have tables. So if
Yeah,
you
it was
could,
fun time.
so
Fun last year.
if
Is
we
it
wanted,
nice
Yeah.
I do.
Kid-friendly grass, there's sunshade.
I was worried about, I was gonna put John.
There you go. Say no more.
Yeah.
Are we adjourning? Should I let the people on the phone know?
Yeah.
It's for their.
Thank you, Ron, on the
Thank you
phone.
so much.
I'm gonna close this out now.
Nice to meet you, Loopy and Roberta.
Have a good afternoon.
Thank you.
Hope to see you in
Thank
person.
you.
Thank you. So there was not a public comment.